This week in Destiny 2, we have some mysteries to solve. Eido speaks the Guardian Creed and about other possible species wielding the light.
Devotion inspires bravery, bravery inspires sacrifice. The unspoken line that follows is why I will remain on the radio.
Someone has infiltrated the pirate hideout before us in search of some dark secret. Saint updates us on Osiris, and we get a new epic lore entry about the Long Drift and Mithrax's early days. Thanks for being here, Guardians, and let's dive right in. The story this week begins in sort of an odd way. Eido greets us at the star chart like normal, but says some scary things about the Guardian Creed, about other species becoming lightbearers.
Guardian, as you prepare for your next voyage, know that I will continue to assist in the conflict against Aramis. I had words with Mithrax concerning his recent behavior. He explained he wished to shelter me from the violence displayed by Aramis' crews. I said one does not protect by forbidding exposure. There is no safety in ignorance. I told him plainly that I will not be sheltered. As the Guardian credo states, devotion inspires bravery, bravery inspires sacrifice. The unspoken line that follows is why I will remain on the radio. Now, we must continue to pursue the relics Aramis seeks. Board your ship and let us begin.
So Eido says that Mithrax wants to keep her safe, protected from all of this madness, and she disagrees with it. She said one does not protect by forbidding exposure, there is no safety in ignorance, that he will not keep her sheltered. As the Guardian Credo says, devotion inspires bravery, bravery inspires sacrifice, and we've heard how the rest of this goes in the past. Sacrifice leads to death.
Devotion, self-sacrifice, death.
Death. Explain.
Devotion inspires bravery. Bravery inspires sacrifice. Sacrifice leads to death. So, feel free to kill yourself.
If we think back to the past, the speaker said this during the Red War. Savathun talked about this, and I believe even Keitel at one point. So this could just be a line Eido is speaking to sort of get her point across, but it also could be hinting at something else in the future. Again, the last time we heard about this, Savathun became a lightbearer.
What is it the Guardians say? Devotion inspires bravery. Bravery inspires sacrifice. And sacrifice.
Eido concludes by saying we must continue to pursue the relics that Aramis seeks. Board the ship and let's begin. After an expedition, we venture to this week's pirate hideout, the Beast Tamer. This epic mini-mission has much of a different tone than the previous missions though. As we venture in, we learn someone else has been here before us and killed much of this pirate crew.
An ELIKSNI obsessed with those disgusting Cabal war beasts goes by the name Eilax.
Hey, war beasts ain't so bad if you remember to feed them.
Oh, I've seen what they eat. Too much trouble for the cost.
Something's wrong. Whoever came through here cleaned this place out.
Another gang. Scabs bold enough to assault a hideout for its treasures.
Nah, this outfit is organized, efficient, and almost as deadly as the Guardian.
I wonder if our pirate lord is still with us.
After sneaking through some vents, we learn that some of the crew did survive along with the pirate lord, so we take them down. This time we confront an ELIKSNI captain, the Beast Tamer Eilax, who is protected by 3 war beasts. In the end, we pick up the next relic and speculate on what the heck happened here with our crew.
Whoever tried to take that pirate lord down first They didn't get the relic, but these interlopers managed to take out half this crew.
Did they want the relic? Or just a little bloodshed? Whoever they are, they've made powerful enemies.
Yeah, us too.
So, who was here before us? Of course, we don't know, but we can speculate, and there could be a couple of different options here. The first one, what about Spider and his crew? We know earlier on in the season, Spider wanted to use the dark power of the relics for ourselves with Mithrax, and he scolded him for the thought of that. So, would Spider try and send in a crew to recover the relics for himself? It would be pretty risky and a really bad idea, but I guess it could be possible. Second, what about Mithrax? Would Mithrax want to cover up this pirate past he's been speaking of? Possibly, but it also seems weird that he would just leave the relic in Pirate Lord alive, so kind of unlikely unless he meant to do this on purpose. In this week's transmission from the relic, which I'll play in a couple of seconds here, we see Aramis speaking to Eilax about the relic. So it would seem these two were working together, and I don't think Aramis would be the one to take out part of this crew. So let me know who you think it was in the comments below. Was it Spider, Mithrax, is Marasov involved, or something completely different?
Guardian, we intercepted another of Aramis Kell's transmissions. This time to the Pirate Lord Eilax.
It is finally time for the ELIKSNI to take their rightful place in the Sol system. We've struggled for too long under the boot heels of others. Hive and Cabal rain artillery down upon us. The Vex steal every last scrap for themselves, and the Lightbearers hunt us for sport. But no longer. This system will soon enter a new age, one of ELIKSNI prosperity. Be sure you're on the right side of it, Eilax.
I wonder what the witness promised Aramis Kell in exchange for the relics. Clearly it was a persuasive offer.
After collecting the relic, Mithrax speaks to the holoprojector about this past. He wants to give us a clear answer, but says that he needs a little bit more time.
I have just spoken with Drifter. He says another force assaulted Aramis's pirates. If you and Aramis are not the only ones searching for the relics, I fear this is beyond my control. I believed we could collect the relics and contain that power, keep them safe. Guardian, there are details I have kept from you. From everyone. I must ask for the gift of your patience. I will find an answer. I will. Trust me for a moment longer. I beg you.
Last week, Eido told us she was going to use some suppression tech to try and figure out what's going on with his Engram game with the spider. This week, when we go in to pick an engram from the spider's inventory, it seems it worked. Spider says, "How in all the..." As if noticing you for the first time, he looks up and smiles broadly. "How could anyone be so lucky?" he says in a syrupy voice. "What a surprise." "Now take your winnings and go," he says bluntly. "I'll contact you later for more games," he mumbles softly to himself as you back away. Eido's excited voice comes through your radio. "I employed my signal suppressor when you entered the ether tank," she says. "Did anything happen? Or not happen? You mentioned that you just won a powerful weapon from a spider in a game of chance." So Eido seems to have blocked this little game where the spider is playing, and instead of giving us green or blue crappy gear like in the last couple of weeks, we get a red bordered weapon. Although we don't have a solid answer yet, we know that whatever is happening here, it could just be for fun or maybe something more devious. Spider is behind this game for sure. And lastly, we head to the terminal where Mithrax and Saint speak about their pasts and Osiris.
Mithrax, my friend, I hear you clash swords with pirates now, and fight alongside strange crew.
The Saint has heard correctly. it had not come to this, I do not enjoy it. To see ELIKSNI fight and die for scraps of power. These bring to mind old memories, a past I wish to forget. It is a shameful one.
I am not one to speak of shame. I carry my own. That you forgave me for what I did to your people speaks to your strength. I can only do the same for you.
Your grace is appreciated. House Light and its Kell thanks you. But how is Osiris?
He sleeps. I wait for him.
He will wake. I know stories of the Phoenix. Osiris will rise from this as well.
Your words mean much to me, my friend.
These two have the same connection happening here. Saint's past, slaughtering the ELIKSNI people and Mithrax forgiving him for that. And then Mithrax's past, something he wants to forget and we will learn about in the coming weeks. Osiris will live, they speak, and it seems this will come true given Lightfall's cover art. And to wrap up this video, let's take a look at the lore entry released for this week. This is titled The Whispering Dark from the Above All Else lorebook. We had sailed the Long Drift for centuries, but I had yet to come to terms with our new reality. My son had only borne witness to a fraction of it. He was still young, struggling to understand his place in the world. The two children from House of Dancers, Raucous and Civix, were slightly older and had become his reluctant friends. They protected him from the adolescents who would steal his ether when I wasn't looking. It was not a family to me, not truly. I had yet to understand that catch is kin. Once we found the Great Machine, we learned that it had uplifted a whole new species, granted them power beyond anything it had ever bestowed to us. That betrayal drove some in our house to despair, others to death, and many to violence. Adapting to this betrayal was to be our next challenge. I listened to the poison-minded advice of soft-shelled cowards and tried to speak with the Great Machine's new chosen, our usurpers. They repaid the Machine's kindness with violence, killed 3 of my closest friends. I later discovered that they shucked their carapaces and wore their chitin as armor. We learned all we could about these usurpers, like how their limbs were supple and could be pulled from their bodies far easier than our own kind. I came to love the sound of their screams. If violence was the only language they spoke, so be it. Time had made me fluent. Some of my house refused to abandon the old ways. The fools draped themselves in the naive raiment of splicers, praying to a god that doomed us all. They could contemplate their failure with what was left of their lives in the cold dark. I had no time for them, save for goading them into raids. If we wanted to retake the Great Machine, we could not do it by prostrating ourselves like weeping children. We would take it back by force. We killed the Machine's chosen, taking what we could, rooting through the rotten innards of their dying world. We took refuge in the shadows of their dusty moon where the usurpers' ruins stuck out like bones from the dust. It was empty, it was silent, but there was value to be had in picking those old bones clean. On one such expedition, I had strapped my son to me and set out to pick over a bounty of bones. But it was not the spools of spin cable, the plates of hard sheet, or the fragments of clear cut that proved most valuable. It was what we found buried beneath the bones, what was buried deep. We traversed that day into dark tunnels where something hideous festered beneath the moon's surface. Horrific creatures that stank of wet soil shrieked like dying animals and tore at flesh. They possessed a ferocity we had never seen before, and my raiding party was being whittled down one by one. But when it seemed like these creatures were to finish the rest of us off, they relented. They appeared to hear something that terrified them, something that left us to wonder, what are monsters afraid of? The creatures scurried back into their warrens and vanished into the subterranean temple they spilled out of. And for a moment, I thought I heard something too. Something soft. A whisper, but as forceful as a scream. That was when we saw it situated in a rift beyond the temple, the true treasure of this dusty tomb. A pyramid of jet black opening its doors for us. So wow, this card is great. Mithrax's mother describes the long drift and finally arriving in Seoul to find the Traveler and the Guardians. They took up shelter on the moon, picking our old ruins clean, and eventually once they traversed deeper they found the hive and something even more hideous. Something was calling to them, a soft whisper but as forceful as a scream from inside the lunar pyramid. So like all the speculation and secrets we've been talking about leading up to this week, this was probably Nezarec. Nezarec, the speculated disciple of the moon, was not to be seen when we entered the pyramid. Something, called us there, the Witness. But back in that day, was it the Witness or was Nezarec on this ship? Anyway, Guardians, that's all we got for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this roundup of the story, and let me know your thoughts about all of it in the comments below. If you'd like to see some other Destiny lore and mysteries, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. Anyway, I thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.